extreme overeaters, neat freaks, extremes, extremes, extremes. DKW investigates.
This one's for the girls. This one's for all the girls. This one's for the girls who love without holding back, who dream with everything they have, all around the world. Yeah. This one's for the girls. This one's for all the girls. Yeah, this one's for the girls. This one's for all the girls.
Hi everyone, and welcome to your Sunday afternoon with the DKW ladies. I'm here with Sam. Hi Sam, how are you?
Hi there, Jem.
You all right?
Glad to be here again.
Good. And Mary Jo. Hi Mary Jo.
Hello, Gemma. Hello, everybody.
So today we are talking extremes. Ladies, before I throw it over to you, people are probably wondering, what are extremes? We're going to be talking about everything. OCD, hoarding, neat freaks, people who are extremely messy. You know, we're talking about the opposite ends of the spectrum today. Now, before we go into that side of things, I want to hear from you guys. Any extreme behaviours, confession time now. Any extreme behaviours that you guys have got, or maybe had in the past, that you want to confess to our viewers? Sam.
Oh, I was hoping you wouldn't say Sam. 'Cause I can't, to be honest with you, if I've been sincere, I've never really had any extreme cases or scenarios about myself where I go over the top with.
Yeah.
I think I'm a bit of everything. There's times when I can be extremely messy, and there's times when I can be extremely neat. So I think I have a little bit of everything, but I find I am quite balanced.
Yeah.
And I think you do have to be balanced,
Yeah.
and I think anything that goes past the balance is when it goes into the extreme.
Yeah.
So thankfully I don't recognise anything.
Yeah. What about you, Mary Jo? Any extreme?
Not at the moment, but I think I've had it before. Like, when you are a teenager and you have a few pounds and you went desperate to look very thin, that person on TV or something like that. I remember I did like a crazy diet that I would just have one small meal a day, and the rest of the day was just coffee.
God.
It lasted 3 days.
Oh.
And I bet you only you were like so hyper as well.
It only lasted 3 days. I couldn't do it.
Oh my God.
Couldn't do it.
I've done the diets. I've had a few extremes actually. I've done the diets. I've had extremes in terms of my looks. Like when I was around 17, 18, I probably dyed my hair like every single colour, different.
Wow.
Yeah, it really was. And I think it's about experimenting as well.
Yeah.
And today I still have a few extremes actually. Like sometimes I throw myself into a project or something like extreme, like
into that project.
There's no balance whatsoever, and I like to give my all to what I do. So if I'm studying or something, or if I'm doing something, especially short-term stuff, I will give my absolute all to it.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a good thing. Sometimes it does benefit you, but I do recognise that sometimes it doesn't, because it's other things give in your life and you think, no, I can't just focus on that. Like you said, Sam, I think you've got to have a balance. So I still do see a few extremes in me, to be honest. Yeah. And I'll be talking about the rest of them throughout the show. But of course, if you want to get involved, want to hear from you, you can Facebook us. I almost forgot it there. A different kind of woman. Or of course, we'd love to hear from you if you call in. So give us a call on 020 7686 6300. Please note that local call charges apply. And of course, if you've got any extremes that you want to share with us, any tips maybe on how to getting over extremes, then give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. So MJ, let me throw it over to you. What have you got for us?
Okay, we have a piece news. Yahoo.com reported that Nina Blackmore, a size 18 model, travels around the world modeling for plus-size brands. But she has revealed that she used to eat just 1 apple a day and exercise a lot to become a size 0.
Wow.
And despite putting her body through hell, she was told she was still too big to make it in the modeling industry. She said, and I quote, I wanted to become a model so desperately that I knew that starving myself was the only option.
And I look at the image, which, you know, I don't know if they can put it back on the screen, but I look at the image and to me, she's so beautiful.
Yeah.
She's got the height as well.
I mean, she looks like a standard size.
She does.
But to be a model, that's what, I mean, I used to do modeling, but that's exactly what they want. They want you to be like zero.
Yeah.
A zero size. It wasn't a profession that I would definitely recommend if you want to be oversized, so forget it.
That's the thing though, but because sometimes I look at these actors, for instance, it's not just models, and you know, you see actors, male and female actually, that will get extremely huge for a role, or they'll get extremely slim for a role. Like Renee Zellweger was probably the most famous back in her days, but you see like Matthew McConaughey, they do it all the time. It's like, you know what, I've got this script, I'm going to become really, really slim. Or they'll eat like loads of burgers and so on to get really big, and that can't be healthy. No, you're putting your health at risk.
Yeah, exactly. It's not healthy at all, because this is going to be a contribution towards any addictions, don't you think? And I'm sure a lot of presenters, celebrities, even normal people, everyday people, I'm sure a lot of their addictions have been caused because of the way they're thinking about these kind of diets and things like this.
The thing is like this, these people, they have control because they are doing it for a reason.
Right.
The thing is that it shows to other people out there that it's possible to do, and they do it, and they do it the wrong way, because I'm sure these stars that do it for a role, they do it under medical supervision and all of that. Professionals and everything like that. And people out there just do it out of their own, like Nina did, just one apple a day. Imagine, how can you survive just one apple a day?
I remember when I was in my teens, I lived in the Caribbean for a while, and we watched American cable TV, and obviously in Hollywood all of this is glorified, being really slim and so on, and I actually remember living, I can't remember how long it was for, but I lived on an apple a day. Yeah. Did I lose weight? I think I lost a few pounds, but and then I gained and then some.
That's the problem. Wouldn't you just feel so hungry that the next day or the next opportunity you're going to eat like no one's business?
It's funny because willpower is an amazing thing, and we're going to be talking about this throughout this show, because it's amazing, because I did feel hungry, but because I knew my goal was to be that size, like I think I wanted to be like a size 6 or 8 at the time, and I was a size, I think I was 10 to 12. Now when I look back at the pictures, I was like, oh, I was so slim, but at the time I was like, no, I need to get to my goal. I was so focused on it, I was like, I am not eating anything.
Wow. I remember when I was growing up, I was always chubby, always. And the first time that I really slimmed down, and it wasn't on a crazy diet or anything, I started working. That was it. That was the secret. As soon as I started working, I lost weight.
I think with all these things, on a serious note, I think it's all to do with your mindset. And I think anything like what you were saying, you put your mind to it. And because you put your mind to it, you conquered it. And I think that's what's happening with many of these people who are doing extreme things. It's a kind of a control in the mind, and which some lose control, and the ones who have control are able to win the battle of what they want to achieve.
And putting their mind to use in something really negative that's going to harm them in the future.
I think it can be used in both ways, positive and negative.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we've got a few scenarios, because you know we love our red and green card here. And I always try and do it, and I get it upside down whenever I try and show it. So we've got our green and red card here.
I'm quite jealous of you, because I don't have DKW on mine.
Oh no.
But I'm still with you.
I'm still with you. Actually, MJ's got 2. Maybe you can share.
I think maybe that's what was happening. One was for you.
There we go. I have mine now.
You can see this is a live show. We don't plan anything.
I don't have extreme jealousy anymore.
Okay, now you've gotten over your jealousy. Let's get to this. So these are scenarios. I'm going to read out the scenarios, and I want you guys to judge whether they are extreme or not. So obviously, green if you think it's extreme, and red if you don't think it is. So look, a few weeks ago, this is not me, by the way. I'm reading it by someone who sent this in. A few weeks ago, I went out for a meal with some girlfriends. As soon as I walked through the front door, I felt restless, obsessing about the fact that I hadn't done enough exercise that day to burn off all the calories. that I'd just eaten. It was gone midnight, but I began to run up and down on the spot. I calculated that I'd need to do this for at least an hour before I could allow myself to go to bed. Is it too far or should you go for it? So what do you guys reckon? So past midnight, come in, you realise, oh, I haven't burnt off the calories for the day. Is it extreme? Green, oh, it's upside down, Sam. So green, oh, there you go.
Agree.
Green if you think, you know what, that is extreme. Red if you think, no, it's not extreme.
I think it's extreme. Come on,
And you,
it's
so,
past midnight.
red! Pass it. So Mary Jo, why do you think it's not? No, you think it's extreme, right? Why?
Yeah, it's past midnight. You just go to bed next day. You do your
You work it
exercise. You
out.
just don't need to do it past midnight. Sorry.
What do you think, Sam?
I don't think it's an extreme. I think we're going back to having that mindset. Something you want to achieve. It's just like a study. If you want to study and you want to sacrifice towards something,
Yeah.
maybe your study is going to take you over 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
You may have to do that.
But then again-
sometimes life takes a bit of sacrifices and it may go over hours.
Yeah.
So I
But
don't
then,
think it's extreme.
if she overate with her girlfriends, maybe she should have controlled the meal she had, the portion she had at the restaurant.
You know, I say it's extreme. If I can get my card out, I say it's extreme just because I was reading over it, and she says, as soon as I walked through the front door, I felt restless, obsessing.
Yeah.
And I think that was the key word. If she said to me like, oh, I've got this goal or whatever, because I'm all for keeping your goals, especially when it comes to health, because most people, they're like, oh, I can't be bothered, and they don't do anything exercise-wise, and they just think, oh, I can't be bothered, I'll just go to bed. But when she was saying I was obsessing about it, then I thought, okay, this might be going. You know, when you get to the point of anxiety that you can't even sleep at night,
Yeah.
then
That's
you might
different.
identify,
Yeah,
hold on, there might be an
that's
issue there.
different.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I do agree with Sam. I think sometimes to reach your goals, you've got to sort of persevere. Do you know what I mean? And just get on with it. And I think exercise is one of them. Like, I'm definitely one, like, when it comes to exercise, I just say, oh, I can't be bothered.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I'm like that
I'm
as well.
very
Can be bothered.
lazy
Very,
when
very,
it comes to, past 12 o'clock, unless it's something with my husband, that's about it. Nothing else.
I know. And that's the thing. That's the thing. If you allow, I think with extreme behaviour as well, if you allow it to affect other things, like for example, I talked about anxiety, but maybe even your relationships. Like, for example, if she was in a relationship and it's starting to affect like your partner, or if it's affecting friends.
That's true.
Then you're kind of thinking, hold on, where are we going with this? Do you know what I mean? Because some people spend all their time in the gym, for instance.
Yeah, sometimes the person, she might even have an injury. She might be sick and she still goes to the gym.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that balance that Sam said before.
Yeah.
It's just, I think when it's like too much.
That's it.
When you go over the top, it's like you think you are taking care of yourself, but actually you are not taking care of
You are
yourself
not.
anymore because it's just too
You're
much.
harming yourself.
Yeah.
And like you said, if she was in a relationship, for example, imagine you've been out all night, you've come in now, you and your partner's there, looking forward to just relax and have, relax
You wanna
now
go to the
past
gym.
12. And then next thing you know, the wife comes out in her exercise kit. Right, ready to do it. It's going to be a bit extreme. It's going to be a bit extreme.
And also, like, going back to Mary Jo's point about injury, I knew a lady who was, she just had her baby, and I think within a few weeks of having the baby, she was like out exercising and so on. And you're supposed to rest and so on. And she was like, nope, baby in the pram, we're going up and down the hill to exercise, because she was like, I need to get rid of this weight.
We see that a lot, isn't it?
Exactly. And I think that comes from celebrity a lot of the time. You're obsessing about your size and not taking the right care of yourself. So I think that's where you've got to watch. I've got another one for you guys. Scenario 2. Your partner is very possessive, calls constantly or visits unexpectedly. He always asks you whom you talk to and where you were, keeping tabs on the mileage of your car, watches your spending, and sometimes checks your phone messages. Is it too far?
Ooh,
What do you guys think?
definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Extreme or
Definitely.
So green, extreme.
Yeah.
You both agree. Why?
Well, to be honest with you, I see that as, I see any relationship, if you're in a relationship and one of the parties' behaviour is like that, the person is insecure, it means that there is a breakdown of trust. And if there's a breakdown of trust with that relationship, there's problems and it's not healthy at all. So I think that is something that the issue is not with the person, the issue is with the person who's doing all these checks.
Yeah.
So this person, they seriously would need some kind of counselling or help or advice. So if you're a type of person like this, seek some help.
It's funny
it's not healthy.
So a lot of women, a lot of the times we like to be cared for.
Yeah.
And you love the fact that someone cares about you and, you know, is checking for you, and it's like, oh, you know, are you all right? Where are you? Etc. So I think it depends on how far the partner goes, because if it's someone that's, you know, oh, just making sure that you're okay, etc., then, you know, I think it's fine. But I think when it gets to, it leads to other behaviour like anger and jealousy, then it's like, oh, hold on a minute. If the person starts hurting you, like when I was thinking checking for your mileage,
checking your mileage on your car.
I mean,
checking your phone.
Yeah, checking your phone.
You know, I've been married for 13 years and I don't see the need to check my husband's phone.
Yeah.
And my husband never checks my phone.
I know.
You see, I check my husband's phone, but out of sometimes I don't have anything to do. I'm bored. His phone is there. I just check, but I don't go. You know, looking for
who you've been talking to.
No. Sometimes it's just funny. Some of the things, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Guys talk is quite funny sometimes. How are you? Okay.
Yeah.
Not much to
It's
say.
just a kind of thing. You know,
it's
for you, it's funny.
Yeah, you know, and I think if it's innocent, but if you then it leads you to other things like, you know, you're looking through your husband's phone. It's like, who's this from?
Yeah.
Where were you today? No.
Where were you? What were you doing? Why did you answer the phone? Then it's just...
Then it puts a burden on the other person, and they probably don't even want to.
And as well, if the person, if they make you feel guilty for whatever reason, then
about that.
you know, if they make you feel guilty because you weren't there, because you didn't answer the phone, or you know, then it just becomes too extreme, too obsessive, too possessive.
Getting jealous, getting anger. It's not acceptable, Jem. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not acceptable.
Definitely. Right, okay, so we're going to go to a short break right now, but of course we want you to get involved. If you've got some extreme behaviours that you want to talk to us about, then give us a call on 020-7686-6300, or you can email us comments@dkw.me. Are you wondering if you have gone too far? Or should you just go for it? And also, how can you identify extreme behaviour? We're going to be talking about all this and more after this short break. Back soon. Welcome back. Today we are talking extremes. And before the break, I asked, how can you tell whether you are too extreme? What do you guys think?
I think when you think about that activity or about that situation too much, it consumes your mind. You are always thinking about it, and if you don't do it, or you know, if you don't do it, or you go to that place, or you know, whatever that activity is, if you don't do it, then you panic, you stress,
you get
anxious, worried, anxious, then that's an extreme. You know, that activity, that situation, or whatever it is an extreme.
Yeah. It's like if you're allowing that activity, like she said, to affect other areas of your life. You know, you start accommodating to that. You know, you start missing work because of that activity. You start, you know, missing appointments because of that activity. You start adjusting your life in order to suit that particular, it's like, for example, we spoke earlier on about exercising.
Right.
And, you know, imagine the person has the injury, but even though they have the injury, they know that they have an injury, but they're so obsessed with exercise and they continue to exercise on the injury, you know, or they continue to do so. So it's when somebody wants to do something repetitively, you know, you continue to do it even when it can bring effects to you.
You know, it's funny because just as you guys were talking, I was thinking, if I was watching this program at home, I'd probably think, oh yeah, like, you know, people with extreme sort of OCD or something like that. And I wouldn't necessarily think that it applied to me. But actually, as you two were talking, I was thinking, you know, a lot of women, what about shopping, for instance?
Yeah.
You know, when you said about accommodating, I thought so many people, for example, they can't afford something, but it's like that new pair of shoes, I've got to have it, or that new dress, I've got to have it. So then what do? It's like, I'm gonna buy it, I can't afford it, and then they start thinking, okay, I won't eat for a period of time, or they'll eat really cheaply, for instance, to accommodate for that. Or sometimes they'll leave a bill behind, something very important like council tax, for instance, just to do it. But that's extreme as well, because it means that you haven't showed balance in what you tried to do
It's
right
exactly
there.
that.
Do you see what I mean? And it's funny because it's like people are watching and they think, oh, extreme, extreme, extreme. Oh, that's not me. But you do it all the time. Another one is relationships. You know,
I was exactly going to say that, because I was thinking about that, because we are thinking about activities, but there are other ways of being extreme. And sometimes the way you put someone on a pedestal, it can be an extreme.
That's a good one.
Could be.
The way
Idolizing someone.
Yes.
exactly, and even the way sometimes you replace, for example, relationships for the love of a pet.
Obsessive behavior, isn't
exactly.
it? That's what it
That
is.
can as well be an extreme because we are thinking just of losing weight or being OCD or all of that, but it's not. There is a lot of other things. I think, like we said, everything that goes too much that affects you, that affects your relationships, that affects your health, that affects your health, your mental health, then it is an extreme.
Yeah, because for example, I know a lot of friends actually over the years have got into a relationship and actually they've been too extreme with that person.
Yeah.
Whereas they will only spend all of their time with him, and actually cut off their friends.
Yeah.
You know, completely.
They become obsessed.
And they become, it's like, you know, he is my everything. He's my everything. Actually, you know, maybe you think, oh, that doesn't really hurt me because I'm in love and so on. But I think you need other relationships. You need friendships. You need your family. You need a career. I think if you sort of get to the point where you put your life on hold for a person, whoever that person may be, then that is an extreme as well.
Yes, I agree.
Because even us that are married, we don't stay all the time.
I love you, I love you, I love you. I need to.
You're with them 24/7.
It's just too much. You have to have your own space. You have to have your space with your friends, your girly moments, and your husbands need to have that as
I
well.
must admit, one of my relationships, I had a 9-year relationship, and there was a point where it was actually like that. We were with each other 24/7s, and to the point when you mention extreme, now I'm thinking that that's quite an extreme. I do have one, but you know, we were with each other 24/7s, day in, day out, to the point that I even gave up my job.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I gave up my career job to be with him and to be in his world. So that is an extreme.
That is an extreme.
That is an extreme.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about.
That is definitely.
But I mean, let's go on a serious note, because there is examples. I mean, I've got an example of real extreme behaviours, and one of those extreme behaviours is hoarding. Hoarding is compulsive behaviour.
Oh my gosh, look at this picture. I don't know how people
exactly
can live
this
like that.
as this picture. They collect things. They collect bags, magazines, newspapers, boxes. Could be photographs. Could be food. You know, anything like this that has no control over, and you find that person is normally they tend to keep, people who does hoarding, they tend to keep it quite secret. They tend to hide it away, so they may have a room that's like that and nobody knows about it.
I'm actually disturbed by those pictures.
It is quite disturbing. It's very disturbing.
But you know, I've seen programs on TV about this, and sometimes when we think about, you know, people that have this kind of situation, we think of a dirty house and things like that. But I have seen cases that the house is not even dirty.
It's neatly disorganized.
It's neatly disorganized. You know, they keep everything like. The shoes from the girl, with the daughter when she was 5, the shoes from the daughter when she was 11. You know, everything. They keep everything. They can't throw away anything.
And they've always got an excuse of why they've kept it. No, I'm keeping this because of this, because it belonged to this one, and it's my grandfather's this and this. You know, but Sam, okay, why do people hoard?
Why do people hoard? It's actually an illness, to be honest with you. It's a psychological disorder.
Yeah.
So it's when a person doesn't have no control over that behaviour. I mean, they still do researches. They're still trying to find out the depth of why they do this. But it's one of those things where you do need professional help.
But can I just say, like, for example, you know, like, I don't know, stamp collectors, you know, they're quite glorified.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between someone who collects stamps, for instance, or, you know, collects, I don't know, bottles, I don't know what you collect,
what it is,
and
Jem?
a hoarder, you know?
It's to do with the mind, and the mind cannot conclude. For example, they're collecting the bags. For example, you go shopping, you got bags, you're collecting the bags, but your mind cannot almost like discern what you need to do with that bag. Now, a normal person, not to say these people aren't normal, a lot of them are normal people, but a normal person will probably just throw the bag away. But that person's mind, that person goes into anxiety because they cannot decide what to do with the bag. So what they do, they hoard it. They collect.
So
and
they've
because
got
it
some
becomes
sort
an
of-
extreme, it becomes a storage.
So they've got some sort of because, like, for example, I've got some bags
Which is
in
why
my,
it's
in my cupboard.
psychological.
I've got bags in my cupboard from supermarkets, and I have a purpose for them. Is like,
Yeah.
oh, if you need it for something else,
In the bin.
Yeah, you know, for
Yeah.
the bin, to put in the bin. You know, and I think the difference is, I guess, I'm not, number one, I'm not ashamed of anyone seeing my cupboard.
That's
and if
right.
you were to come to my house and throw them all in the bin, I wouldn't have an emotional crisis.
Exactly.
So
it wouldn't be an anxiety
I'm
attack
not,
for
I'm
you.
not attached to them, right? That's really interesting,
It is.
actually. It's really interesting. But you know, I don't know. I think it's if it becomes part of your life, like, you know, if you can't invite people to your house because you've got all of this stuff, I think that's when it becomes an issue.
Because think about it, normal people, you collect, like someone who collects something, you collect medals or you collect stamps or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
When you collect something, you're proud about that,
Yeah,
that particular
yeah.
thing that you collect. So you can show you show it off. You could do a museum or a workshop with
Yeah.
these things that you collect because it's
Yeah.
something. But usually someone who suffers from hoarding, they hide away
Yeah.
things. It's secret to them.
Yeah.
And this is where it's a problem.
And you know, I don't know if they can show the picture again, but you know, it's funny because hoarders usually don't have the space for all the stuff
No,
that
of
they
course
collect.
not.
Yeah.
That is an issue because it's like, look at this. Where do you walk?
How do you live like
How do you
that?
But if you ask
How do you
them
live?
where do they have a certain item, they will know where it is.
You know, I actually know a hoarder.
Oh, frightening.
I know a hoarder.
I've met a
actually
couple
know one
myself.
as
I know a hoarder, and I was actually speaking to her, and she, like you said, knows where everything is.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, oh, wait a minute.
Clutter,
Da-da-da-da-da.
clutter, clutter.
Oh, here it is. And it's funny because she's got, like, I don't know, loads of like fridge magnets, loads of cups, loads of this, but they've all got a purpose and they're all from a place and so on. And it's like, you know, loads of papers, and it's not just one particular thing like stamps. It's like loads of everything.
Yeah.
And I was looking at her, and actually I was talking to my friend about it, and I was thinking, you know, I think it's actually psychological. Like, I think when people are younger and if they haven't got something, and I'm no psychologist, but I was just looking at it, I was thinking, I think that if you lack when you're younger, and if you don't deal with that, then I think that it can show sort of, I don't know how to say it, like it can show up in your adulthood. And I think there's
and now
some
you
sort of-
have it, you don't want to throw it away
That's
because you
it.
might need it.
Yeah, because I know someone, for example, who refuses, and I was talking to production about this, refuses to have an empty fridge, refuses, and stuff could be spoiling in the fridge and then they'll throw it away. But it's like, no, my fridge will not be empty, because when they were younger, their fridge was always empty because
Yeah.
their mother could not sustain their family, and they grew up with an empty fridge, and now it's like, if you look at the fridge, it's packed with stuff that they can never eat, but it's like, I will not have it because it's
It makes
psychological.
sense.
Yeah, well, this is why it's unhealthy, Jen.
Yeah.
Anyone who recognises that they have this kind of problem, they need to seek professional help because it's unhealthy. Imagine you have so much clutter that you cannot even you cannot live in your living space. You cannot sleep in your bed, to the point that even some orders, they even have extreme debts.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you're buying so much
Because
stuff.
they start, like you said, with, if, you know, a person who continually buys shoes. It may come to a point where you use up your credit cards to a point that you can't spend anymore. You put yourself in debt, or you start to borrow
Yeah.
money even.
Just to it's an addiction, I guess.
Just to fulfill that addiction,
Wow,
basically.
wow.
So it is very unhealthy.
Yeah.
You know, the person I know,
Yeah.
she's a dressmaker, and she works from home. So in her house, there are bags and bags and bags of fabrics. You know, the fabrics
Yeah,
that
yeah.
leftover
scraps. Yeah.
Because she said, no, I might need it. You know, the person, no,
Yeah.
I've made these trousers for that person, but then she might put on weight. So she might need me to, you know, amend the trousers. So I might need this fabric. So you know, the room is full of bags and bags and bags and bags and bags and bags.
And you know, some people again at home are probably thinking, oh, I'll never do that. Oh my goodness. But I was just, when you were talking, I was remembering actually, when I'd put on weight, I had racks of clothes that didn't fit me. All sizes too
you
small.
think, oh,
because I'm gonna need it one day, you know, I'm gonna lose the weight, I'm gonna fit into it. Like, how many women do that, for instance? It's like racks and racks and racks. Yeah. Hands up, ladies. Racks of clothes that don't fit you anymore, but one day you might just lose weight to fit into it. Some of them are old-fashioned, you know, some of them you're never gonna have a chance to wear. But I used to be like that until one day I made a decision, like, why am I holding on to all this stuff?
Get rid of them.
Get rid of it. But, you know, I did that.
Every now and again, what I do have, like you're talking about clothes, that's what I do. Yeah. Every now and again, I have a clear out. And if I see things I've put weight on or I'm not going to wear it, I just get rid of it. Because the thing is, we're always going to be buying new things and, you know. But I'm sure you have more news, please, for us, MJ.
The next point is extreme physical behavior.
Right.
And I would like to speak about Adi Montag. She has had 10 operations to alter her looks.
Wow.
And now she has reportedly gone under the knife again. And for what? Apparently, she had her F-cup breasts reduced to a more manageable D. And she said, I do regret getting the implants. My new doctor was like, you should have never been allowed by the doctor to get implants this big.
Big? Oh, God.
She said that I put my security and sexuality in my breast size instead of my confidence.
She's so right.
Yeah. And you know, I remember watching The Hills because she comes from The Hills, and I always thought she was such a pretty girl, such a pretty girl. You know, everything was perfect. Yeah. So when I saw that she was having breast implants, and I was like, why? She's so small. Why?
I mean, sorry, Jem, but I think after the 10th surgery, alarm bells would have been going off, and it's just a shame that she had to go through all this to recognise that, no, I didn't need to do all that. So
and it's a shame because something like that is irreversible. Like the implants, she can make smaller, she can reduce them, but what about her nose job? What about all the other things? And you know, it's funny because doctors should not be allowed to allow people to go under their knife. Maybe they should refer them for psychological help. You know, because if you're going to go under the knife for anything, they never just say to you, oh, actually, let's take you under the, you know, psychological knife, so to speak, and let's sort out the issues that you've got within that makes you want to do all of this plastic surgery. Anyway, she's only 27.
It's because I completely agree with what you said, because it's the doctor's responsibility to take care of the health of that person. And if her, for example, her breast implants are too big for her frame, then she's going to have problems in her back.
That's it.
Other issues.
So I think I agree with that. There should be a way of making doctors, you know, be responsible for these kind of things. I know this is completely different from what we are talking about.
True.
No,
but
you're right.
True, you know, they are doctors after all. It's like you are trusting your own life in their hands. Yeah. And sometimes they are not protecting you the right way.
And sometimes, let's get it right. Some people are just not well enough to make their own decisions.
And you know, I wonder, you know, how many people are doing things on the surface and not dealing with the true issues.
Inside.
And I think we'll go to a short break now, but when we come back, we're going to be talking about what leads people to these extremes. Back soon. Welcome back to the program. Today we are talking extremes. And ladies, I want to, you know, we've talked about quite a few extremes actually on the program. So we've talked about hoarding, OCD, overeating, undereating, shopping. You know, what actually leads people to extreme behavior?
I think one of the things is when the person is trying to fix an internal problem with something with an outside factor. Right. Like, for example, Adi. She was trying to fix her lack of confidence with the breast implants, trying to bring her confidence up. So she was trying to sort her inner problems with outside
It's funny.
qualities.
It's funny because during the break, we were talking about this dressmaker,
Yeah.
and I was thinking about it. And Mary Jo was actually saying that this dressmaker had, she never got married, she never
No.
had children, and
No.
she doesn't only collect fabrics,
She
but
collects
also
books.
Books, right?
Collection and collections and collections of books.
And what's her thinking behind it?
It's like this. She's very close to our family, and what we know and think is that when she was younger, she had this romance. She was involved with someone, and we really don't know the reasons why. No one knows because she never talks about it. But the relationship didn't go through.
Yeah.
They didn't get married like the way she was planning. And since then, she never had anyone. So I think there are things inside of her that she's keeping, and because she never talked about it. And I think all those other things makes her feel comfortable.
Yeah. Sometimes it's security.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hold on to this because it's something tangible that you can hold on to, and you think, this is my security. I'm not going to let it go, and you try to compensate for something that you have lost.
Yes.
And I think that we see it sometimes, even in relationships. How many people have had a big loss or a big heartbreak, and they can't stay single? They've got to get to another relationship. That is another extreme in a way, because it's like you've lost something here, and instead of dealing with that loss, dealing with that hurt, getting over it, you're like, no, let me move on to the next. Let me go to on a rebound. And some people do that with things.
Yeah.
With these books that she's got that she'll never read, it's all like a security around her.
It's like because I think as well, because she didn't get married, she doesn't have children.
Yeah.
So
she's trying to fill her life.
Yes,
with
I want to have all of these. I want to have all of these so that I can live for my nieces, for my nephews. It's it's like I think she feels that there is nothing for her to leave behind.
Right.
So she wants to have things.
Yeah.
Possess things.
I know
to
someone like
live.
that. It's almost a justification.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, if you don't have children, if you feel like you've got nothing to show for it, and that's not the case sometimes.
No.
You feel like you've got to overcompensate in other areas.
Yeah.
You've got to be like financially well off or working. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's where...
And she gives, like, for example, whatever her nephews or nieces ask of her, she will give to them.
Wow.
If they want money, she will give the money.
Yeah.
So it's overcompensating. Yeah.
But ladies, I want to know, why is it not good to be an extremist? Why isn't it?
It's not good, Jen, because in some cases, it's not that it's not good.
Yeah.
I don't think there are cases where it's not purposely. You don't always just purposely become an extremist in these things. Some people, like we were saying before, it is a psychological disorder, and it is these compulsive behaviors. The person doesn't have control over them. It actually controls the person with these extreme exercising, auditing, OCD, and all these different types of behaviors. I was watching a program just even this week on TV, and there were people who suffered from high extreme anxiety behaviors, which were psychological behaviors of extreme. There was one particular man, and his mind was telling him he lived a normal life, he's got a family, he's got a wife, and these are things that he hid all his life, these behaviors of extremes, he hid all of that. And his behavior was he had keep pulling out a drawer, and his mind is telling him, you need to keep pulling out that drawer and put it back in. Pulling out that drawer and putting it back, and he does it constantly. Now, sometimes these extreme behaviors, that's what it links. It links to the mind. The mind is constantly thinking about something, and the person can't control it, and that is the actual problem. And if they can't control it, this is why they have to seek professional help in order to help them through it.
It's because all of these extreme behaviors can actually affect your relationships.
Yeah, because that's what I want to get to the bottom of, because we're talking about the extremes. But someone might say, actually, I'm pretty happy being an extremist. Why isn't it actually good? Because I'm just thinking, someone might say, actually, I'm pretty happy pulling out the drawer. Do you know what I mean?
But you go.
Why I'm saying this, because when I watch this program, they had to bring these people. It was about 5-6 different people. And they had to bring them to a rehab gem, and none of these people were happy in what they did. They wasn't happy that they had this, but they didn't know how to stop it. So I think one of the things I think people can even help themselves in changing these behaviors is changing their mindset. And I think if a person can change their mindset, it's going to change the way they think.
Yeah.
And if they can change the way they think, they're going to be able to change that behavior.
Yeah.
I think it's a way of the person to run away from her problem. You know, she obsesses over something because she cannot deal with something else.
Right.
Because she cannot deal with that something else, she obsesses over this.
So she controls, like for example,
Yes.
I can control my weight.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be
Exactly.
obsessive about it.
So I can control, like for example, that person, the dressmaker, I can control this situation because I know how to control this situation. I can't control my past and my failure relationship. I can't control that, so I can control this.
And it's funny because actually I feel like you can, you know,
Yeah, I
because
think
you know
you can.
people are probably thinking, how can I strike this balance? And you know, she's thinking, I can't. But if you never allow yourself to, deal with that hurt, it doesn't mean that because you're not dealing with it that it doesn't still hurt. That's the thing about it. It's because, like for example, this dressmaker, it doesn't mean because you're not thinking about it that it doesn't actually hurt you. It still hurts. It just means that you're just brushing it under the carpet. And actually, if you look at certain scenarios in your life or certain situations or problems you get yourself into, sometimes it even is a recurring pattern because of that thing that you keep sweeping under the carpet.
Exactly. I think,
you know,
it's a. But as you said, we need a healthy balance for that.
Yes.
And
how can you get it?
Well,
though?
one of the things
I think it starts with here. I think if you gotta get in that positive mode of identifying what that issue is, seeing that it is, rather than hiding it away. I'm sure there's many people, and if they recognize that they're doing any of these activities, you have to recognize and say, this ain't right. You've got to expose what the problem is and either seek professional help, or you've got to kind of change the way you're thinking to think, okay, what I'm doing is not particularly a good thing. You know, no, I can't even sleep in my bed. It's not a good thing. If you're collecting, your house is full of bags, how can that possibly be a good thing? So you've got to recognize it and then change the mindset to say, okay, what I'm doing is not good. I'm going to change my mindset and I need to take a positive action now to change that action that I'm doing.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mary?
I think family members and friends can as well help, you know, and play a huge role in a situation like this. Because, you know, if a person is afraid to speak about something, so I think the family, the friends can help them and show them, reason with them to show that there is a situation there is a problem there that they have to deal with. So I think family and friends are very important.
Definitely. I think there has to be like an understanding as well, because, you know, maybe you're sitting at home and thinking, I do recognize that I've got a few extreme behaviors, and if you look deep within, a lot of it is based on a defense. You know, people put up this defense, and that's why they don't know how to deal with whatever it is, which is deep down inside a lot of the time. So they put up a defense, and it could be spending too much or collecting things, and all of it is a defense. And I think family and friends can help to be more understanding, because they're probably the first people that are going to recognize that you've got these extreme behaviors. And when you're understanding, then you can actually speak to the person about it and help support them in getting help. Because if you're judgmental, like, oh, you're always pulling out that drawer, you're always this, oh, you just collect too much, they're just going to put the defense on the wall up even higher, right? What else do you reckon, Sam?
I think as well, the person needs to actually look at the bigger picture, and they've got to think about, you know, how it's affecting my life, but how is it, you can't be selfish with this. You've got to think in how can it even affect somebody else's life as well. So I think in order for them to deal with it, I think they do need to see the bigger picture with it in order to, you know, change that scenario.
Yeah. Well, we've come to the end of our show, and I think I want to conclude by saying that if you do recognize that you've got any extreme behaviors, maybe they're even hurting you, or maybe they're causing some massive destruction to your life or to your relationships, then I think our first advice would be to maybe even seek some sort of professional help.
And don't isolate yourself. You know, keep it a secret.
Definitely.
Expose it and
it's not shameful, because on this show we've said Mary Jo talked about her dieting. I spoke about eating one apple. You know, Sam.
I mean, you know my whole life.
Sam spoke about giving up a job because of the men, the relationship. And we're here on TV exposing the extremes. And like I said, sometimes I still go to the extreme of some things. And I think one of the ways of actually getting around it is actually recognizing, you know, and realizing I'm not going to be ashamed of this. I'm going to recognize it, because sometimes when you do something that is extreme, you're not happy about it anyway, and someone else can help you to overcome that. Because, you know, too much of anything is not good. Whether it's eating, whether it's being too neat, whatever it is, if you don't have a balance, usually it's not good. And of course, we're here to help. We're not professionals, but we will listen to you. We will listen, we won't judge, we'll help you through it, and maybe we can even help you identify some of the roots that make you do what you do. So if you want to contact us, we'd love to hear from you. Email us, comments@dkw.me. Well, we've come to the end of the show for today, but next week we'll be back with, how to be healthy on a budget. So that's going to be a really good show. Yeah, definitely. And you'll be back with some of my other friends, but for now, take care. Goodbye.
Bye.